Hi. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the hottest stage of KBW, like literally speaking. So, very happy that you've joined us with these amazing experts here today. I'm Kijun So, co-founder and co-CEO of Planetarium Labs. We work on Web3 games and Web3 gaming protocols that are based on community-powered development. So, for example, you may know us from Nine Chronicles, which is the world's first open source on-chain game. So, without further ado, I want to introduce the speakers. So, yeah, starting from Kyu, would you please introduce yourself and what project you're working on?
Hi, I'm Kyu Lee. I'm the president of Com2uS USA. We're also the Genesis contributor for FACTBLOCK, which is a layer 1 blockchain focused on gaming and content. We've been developing games since the year 2000, and we're a publicly listed company in South Korea.
Hi everyone, I'm Tin. I'm the founder of Ather Labs. We are a gaming studio based in Vietnam. We are making our very first blockchain-enabled game called Cypher Odyssey, which is an action RPG on mobile and PC. I'm extremely glad to be here and to be learning from the speakers on the stage.
Hello everyone. It's such a great honor to share the stage with distinguished thought leaders in the space. My name is Han Yu. I'm from a game studio called NOD Games. Probably many of you guys are not familiar with our company, but chances are you guys have come across our game, League of Kingdoms. So League of Kingdoms is one of the oldest and established game IPs in the blockchain game space. Was launched in 2020. It's an MMO strategy game, and we still currently have users around the world, for around 50,000 users daily, actively logging into our game. Our 7 different NFT collections collectively are driving more than 3 million transactions annually. So it's great to be here. Yeah.
Awesome. Great to have you all. I think we're just gonna dive into probably the most deepest question and a question that they're able to provide expertise on. From your perspective, what's the one game-changing feature of blockchain games and that traditional games just can't match? And how are you actually implementing this in your game and your ecosystem? So I guess I'll start from
Sure.
you.
Yes, I think there's a lot of things that I would like to mention, but I think one of the things that I want to highlight, I'm especially excited about game ownership, game item ownership, because there's a lot of games that have ownership and it's expressed in a lot of different ways, and it's possible to do it in a Web2 way, but there's not. Because everything is so centralized, I'm not sure how much clarity there is for it. And also the other thing is, while the leading games enjoy the marketplace for doing so, it's really not available for all of the developers around the world. And I think blockchain is a great way to easily adopt this. I kind of want to see blockchain more as a tool rather than a platform, and and that's what we're trying to do. We have a big business in the Web2 space, and we're trying to move everything into the Web3 space, and we're all in on this. But we have a very different approach from all of the other Web3 games, as we're transitioning. We're more focused on transitioning the Web2 users through education to the Web3 space slowly over time.
Awesome, thank you. How about Tin? Your Ather Labs is a 150 people company working on Cypher, and I'd love to learn the one game-changing feature that you're implementing in your game currently.
Yeah, to tap off Kyu's point, I think traceability, transparency go together. I think of digital assets, meaning in-game items, are very important, and this is one of the game-changing feature that we think could really empower our game. The second point is that because of these features, it also create a mindset shift when it comes to game design. as builders, makers of the game, now with digital assets being tradable, being transparent on the, using blockchain, we have to think more critically about what we put, into the marketplace, how we design the power creep, how do we deal with game inflation, and things like that, so that the players will get, will be truly be part of the economy, so to speak. In a traditional Web 2 game, it's very easy for in-game currencies to get inflated over time. But for us, these kind of things have to be kept in check with tools and like tapped and sync that we design very carefully. So I think that is a very critical mindset-changing feature that blockchain-enabled games must have in order to be successful. And this is what we really focus on.
Thank you. And League of Kingdoms has been operational for more than 2 years, and you've had to manage the MMO economy, which is on top of blockchain and tradable. Like what's that game-changing feature and some features that you might be really excited about implementing in League of Kingdoms?
Yeah, great question. So I think I need to also top up to Kyu's point that ownership is definitely the major, most primary, powerful tools for Web3 games. And just like Kyu mentioned, that these assets could be owned and traded in the Web 2 ways, but in the Web 3 ways, in the Web 2 ways, it was more like basically importing game items into the game, but there is no way the gamers were able to export the assets out of the game ecosystem. But with the Web3 features and by effectively tokenizing the assets, now we can empower users to be able to have this two-way communication with the game ecosystem and external world. And as a Web3 game, what we have experienced the last 4 years servicing the game is that we're not doing everything on our own. But we are, as a part of a larger decentralized ecosystem, that we're just contributing for this ecosystem to scale, and all the other partners that we work with are joining forces with us. So,
I think you bring up a really good point, because if you look at the Web 2 market right now, we're like a lot of companies are struggling because we publish a game. And if you look at where the revenues are going, 30% goes to the platform holder. But surprisingly, I would be surprised if a company doesn't spend more than 50% on ad networks. And that money is actually leaving the ecosystem. And where does that money have to go? Like, I think the money should be the revenue should be going to the game developers, or rather to the users. And I think Web3 provides a great way, as you mentioned. I think one of the exciting aspects of it is how engaged the users are in actually building the communities for the games. And I think Web3 is very powerful in that nature.
And thank you for bringing back, because this actually relates to the next question of, blockchain promises to innovate and decentralize gaming economies. And, coming from a gaming powerhouse like Com2uS, like is this an actual statement that you want to follow through and develop? And I think the one you mentioned about the ad networks and the value leaving the game is deeply felt by even smaller studios. So I would love to learn, like, what does it mean? What does this decentralized gaming economies mean for big gaming publishers and indie game studios alike?
I think we're still learning, and like I remember when we were working on a product-based game and then moving into the free-to-play space, and it didn't happen overnight. It had to actually there had to be many market iterations, and a lot of the players had to look at each other and learn from each other. I think we're still in the process of finding the right answer for it. And game development takes a lot of time, and so for like a lot of the the Web3 games, I think they were started like probably 1 or 2 years ago, and even for our company, we develop 10 to 20 games a year, and most of the average time of development for these games takes about 3 to 4 years. And so I think we're very early. Maybe we got a little bit excited and ahead of ourselves last year, but and I remember, like, even for mobile gaming, we started mobile gaming in 2000. The App Store moment happened in 2008. We had to wait almost 10 years for that to happen. So I think, I know there's a lot of different market sentiments right now, but I think blockchain is here to stay, and I think everybody just has to give a little patience, because a lot of the good games are underdeveloped, including Tent's Studios games. And I think once those start coming out, I think that's when the next bull run will actually start.
Thank you. So very excited about Cypher. Also joined the initial minting. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to learn about decentralized gaming economies in your game. And if you have any specific examples or insights to share, that would be amazing.
Thank you. Thanks, Kyu, for the shout out. I mean, I think we look at decentralization, through the lens that it has to be progressive, meaning that there are certain aspects of the game that we design at a very early stage to be decentralized, meaning that it's transparent, it's trackable, it's traceable. Like NOD Games here saying that it can be withdrawn onto the blockchain, and player can freely trade it outside of the ecosystem. But there are also aspects that we as a game developer wants to keep in our sort of like control and operation, just for the longevity of the game. So when we say the word decentralization, that's what we think. And then when it comes to the gamers, we do a lot of like smoke tests where recently we were able to get our game into closed alpha and bring it to the real gamers. We give them the game, they play it. We don't share, we don't say anything about blockchain, about digital assets, and we see if they truly enjoy it as a normal gamer. And once they do, and then we explain to them that, hey, by the way, this item that you just acquired or unlocked or crafted can be, your digital assets, and then you can, using our marketplace or third-party marketplaces, can trade it, can buy and sell it. Then their eyes light up. It's not like forceful, and then like shouting from the top of the mountain, saying, hey, we are decentralized, but really making a good game first, and then getting them really engaged into the whole in-game economy, and then introduce the item assets ownership later on. I think that's our playbook, and that's how we look at it. Yeah.
Yes, I guess like similar approaches with phased introduction of decentralized economies to players. I guess for League of Kingdoms, things were a little bit different. When was League of Kingdoms initially launched? It was
3 years ago.
3 years ago,
yeah,
right?
2020. July.
And you've had to manage and operate this ecosystem as people joined in and came out. And I want to learn, I'd love to learn about your perspectives on decentralized gaming economies. And maybe you talk a little bit about the community also joining in and developing a part of that together. I'd love to learn more about that also.
Yeah, I think we were kind of fortunate to be one of the only best game company to be in space. And I think in a large scheme of things, as Tien and Kyu mentioned, that we had a little bit of an issue with the pace and expectation for what's possible, what's actually going to materialize. But right now, like we're like in the middle of sort of a bear cycle, which is kind of, as a game company, like it's only about a year. Things and sentiments are changed quite too aggressively. So it's kind of sad that if we look back and revisit some of the promises that we had when we first started off, all of these benefits of Web3 features and blockchain technology, when they are topped up to the game or gaming platforms, are still valid. They remain true, and they still hold a lot of potentials. So I've been kind of moving away from what you actually asked, but so our journey was actually involved a lot of mistakes. So the reason I mentioned that we are fortunate was because we had I guess we had a little bit more of a leeway, or I guess spaces for us to wiggle rooms for us to fall down and stand back up, because the market was just beginning to open, and we were just only one of very few games out there. So our approach, in a nutshell, was that from the very beginning was Web 2.5. So at that time, it wasn't that sexy, so nobody cared about like going Web 2.5. It's just putting it on the App Store and Google Play stores, having a PC WebGL version available for gamers, non-Web 3 gamers to access. Yeah, not a cool things at that time, but that actually, in hindsight, helped us be a little bit sustainable over the number of bear markets. This one is a little bit longer, so it hurts, but yeah, I think here we are, so we're gonna be able to make it. Yeah.
Yeah, I do also have to say me here, but yeah, no, yeah, I think it's incredible, and it also reminds me of like two companies from South Korea working together on. We would like launch the network, and first day like 20 people got in, and then the network crashed, and just a lot of experiences that we had to learn from scratch. And so yeah, I want to move away a little bit from economics and maybe shift the conversation to Tin about, so your Web3 studio's root is in Vietnam. Like, what unique benefits have you observed, and can you shed light on the diversity of your team in terms of international representation, and maybe there are any lessons or insights that have emerged from managing such a multicultural group, because a lot of us are based in Korea and just working strictly here, most of the engineering groups and all.
Yeah, sure. So firstly, about Vietnam as a country, I mean, we're the population is 100 million people. It's a very young demographic, so there's like a large pool of gamers, and Vietnamese, teenagers, adults. They all love gaming as a form of entertainment. And then Vietnam also is very fortunate to have a very good educational system in place. So in terms of like game development, we have a good pool of game engineers, artists, technical artists, VFX animators, and so on. So, a small fact is that we house two of the biggest like art outsourcing studio in Southeast Asia, and they work as a third-party outsourcing for all the AAA games in the States. So that's the background about the country and why it's an advantage for us to be in Vietnam, and that's how we're able to grow to 150 people in such a short time. Regarding our internal studio talent, again, we are very, very fortunate to have all the like very experienced game builders from Gameloft, from Ubisoft, from all the Gear Inc., all the big gaming studios in Vietnam to join and form our studio. And through their experience and just the love for making a great game, we're able to get to this point in time. But on a bigger outlook in terms of crypto and Web3 related, again, Vietnam is very fortunate to have a large Web3 adoption rate. I think quite similar to Korea, where there's a lot of crypto user. I think it's been rated as like number 2 or number 3 in terms of active crypto user, wallet user. So all those elements combined give us a very strong belief that Vietnam could be a good destination for a Web3 enabled game.
Wow, thank you for sharing. And so moving the question to Kyu. So Com2uS has aggressively pursued and launched multiple experiences on Web3, gathering all these experiences. And any unique observations and strategies as a major publisher, moving forward from 2023?
Yeah, so yeah, talking about Vietnam, I love Vietnam, and I think so much talent there, and I think yes, we thought China was amazing, but I think there's a lot of talent in Vietnam, which I admire. Yeah, so like, I think, yeah, talking about Vietnam, I think so much talent there, and I think yes, we thought China was amazing, but I think there's a lot of talent in Vietnam, which I admire. Yeah, so like, talking about Vietnam, I think so much talent there, and I think yes, we thought China was amazing, but I think there's a lot of talent in Vietnam, which I admire. Yeah, so like, one of the things that we really learned coming into the Web3 space is that it's only been a year, so there hasn't been a lot that we learned. But I think there was a distinct difference between the traders and the gamers. And I think if anything was done last year, I think it was all done by the traders. And now the reason why the market is slow is now everybody shifted to focusing on the gamers, and the gamers still don't get Web3 yet. So, and that's why, because the gamers are waiting for good games to come out. They won't play games that aren't good quality. They don't really care if it's Web 2 or Web 3. What they care about is, give me a good game quality, and I'll play it, and I'll learn Web 3. I think we're waiting for that moment, and we try to forcefully move our users from the Web 2 space into Web 3. Try to track how much conversion there was. Almost no activity there, and then we thought about going the other way, focusing on the Web 3 users, but we didn't think it was going to be sustainable because you're targeting such a small group of users, and if what we're trying to do is fundamentally change the gaming landscape, not focus on just harvesting from a small group of traders. So very similarly, we were from the beginning focused on Web 2 and transitioning them to Web 3. That still remains our focus, but and we're learning that it's happening very, very slow, and also it's not only about the gamers, it's also about our internal development teams, because our internal development teams also have resistance there too, because why do I have to go through Web 3 when I'm comfortable doing all of my things in Web 2? So those are the challenges that we are facing, but we had to do the same thing when we were doing mobile at the beginning, because it was so obvious that people wanted to play games everywhere. So we knew that mobile gaming was coming, but of course our team was comfortable doing some PC games and didn't want to move over Web 3. Move over to mobile. We had to enforce that on a company-wide scale. That's exactly the same thing that we're doing. And yes, and I think we're trying to set the example, showing that if Com2uS does it, then other gaming companies should feel comfortable doing it too. And I know it's a hard, challenging task, but it's also answering the same question. Do you want a in-game sword with ownership or without ownership? It's so obvious. You want an in-game sword with ownership, and you want to be the real owner of it. So we're on a mission to make that transition happen, and that's what we've been learning, that it's slower than we thought.
Thank you. I mean, coming from a Web3 studio background, I think it's very, it's amazing to see Web2 studios also learn and pick things up extremely quickly to be and producing Web3 components into their games. But I think we all agree that the adoption and the growth rate has not been the way we wanted it to be last year, right? And I think shifting a little bit to tokens themselves. So Han, I want to ask. So given the pivotal role of rewards, and this is rewards in Web3 games, how do you design incentives to resonate with early adopters and then maybe investors and new entrants? This is a very difficult question. Additionally, can we detach token prices from Web3 entertainment value, or do you feel that in some ways, if you have tokens, they're inherently intertwined because you have a large demographic which is just exposed to price downright?
Yeah, that's a long question. I might be asking you the second part. So for the incentivizing gamers, I think fundamentally it's not that different. I guess I don't think Web3 incentivizing users is a different animal than Web2, because in the Web2 gamers, what gamers are chasing down are pretty much same. They're looking for whatever the item that has value, or some type of achievements that they can demonstrate, or some social status or social recognition that they can get from their social networks. And in coming to Web3, I think we are just transitioning them, just adding a new type of vehicle. We're just moving the data on servers to blockchain. It has a lot of implications after that, but like from the game studio incentivizing gamers, I don't think it should be drastically different from what Web2 games have been doing. And the second question was the decoupling of
prices and decoupling.
That's another great question. So I think tokens, values of tokens, the price of tokens are somewhat reflecting what investors are perceiving about the underlying project when it comes to gaming projects. And for that reason, I think it's pretty similar to any other asset class. The price will reflect two things. One is potential growth of the product or whatever the platform. And number two is more instant, direct utility. For Web3 games, it can be a staking yield, it can be some sort of a voting rights, which users can claim in a short period of time. So in that sense, and because games are fundamentally intrinsically entertainment product, and I believe that the growth of a game hinges on the entertainment value. I think it's inevitable. I would like to, so in my opinion, because the game is entertaining, the game will grow, and it will be reflected in the token value. So basically, it's quite impossible to decouple the entertainment value off of the token price.
Yeah, I do want to add on to that. Like if you buy, it goes up. If you sell, it goes down. I think that's how the market moves. And I think when the project is small, I think the fluctuation is much more bigger. And I think that's why a significant amount of scale needs to happen in order for those things to stabilize, just like the US dollar currency versus a lot of the other currencies around, the smaller currencies around the world. And so in our case, instead of focusing on individual games, we wanted to combine all of the games together and make a unified token that can be utilized across all of our games. And in order to make sure that we can provide scale, that's why we're trying to pump out dozens of games every year, just to provide that stability. And until we get to that point, I think people are still comfortable with just in-app purchases is how they're educated. They're comfortable with purchasing with their local currency. So we've actually developed a couple of tools that will control the fluctuation of the token so that the tokens actually act more like a stable, kind of a stable coin within our game. And yeah, so we're still experimenting around it, and I think there's a lot of learnings coming from there. But I think in the meantime, there's a lot of different ways to deal with that problem.
Kind of to add on to that, actually, we recently had a chance to meet a lot of gaming companies that are interested in blockchains, and also we have a community of gamers. Right now, I think the approach that Com2uS is XPLA is taking is I think the right direction, because right now it's a catch-22 kind of situation where gamers don't find good number of good games, and game studios are not coming into the space because there's not enough users. So we need content there, so it gives good reasons for users to come.
Great. So thank you for the amazing insights and insights. I've definitely learned a lot through this talk. And maybe just to finish, a teaser for us, starting from Tin. What's the next big thing for your project?
Well, the next big thing for us is definitely the closed alpha launch that we'll be getting the game into actual gamers' hands in upcoming weeks and months. Mm-hmm. And from the players' feedback, we'll hopefully tweak and improve the game massively to get ready for global launch early next year.
Amazing. Kyu?
Yes, we're continuously pumping out new titles, and I think we're trying to learn more from each of the launches that we do, and we're going to try to share more of our learnings. And so follow us on Twitter and Medium, and so that you get updates.
Thank you.
Yeah, we as well are building our extension title, which will be launching next year. Will be on a different genre that's extended. I think that's attached to Legal Kingdom, so all the NFTs and tokens will be interoperably have utility. Yeah, so stay tuned for the new update.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.